Hello, we are working today on assignment 2.1, which is the independent samples t-test. And we are working with our statewide school district data, so we're going to open that up. Once that opens, we've already familiarized ourselves with this data and the variables because we used it in assignment 1. So we can skip that step. But one of the first things that we want to look at is the populations that we are specifically working on today, which is Region 1 and Region 5. Before we can decide whether we're going to run a parametric or non-parametric test, we need to look at 3 areas of validations. And those are the in-quota, the normality, and the homogeneity of variances. The first ones we're going to take a look at are the normality and the n values, the number, the sample size. And we can do that by looking at histograms that count how many are in each set. So first we're going to go to data and use a select cases to select only our region 1. And we'll do that by moving region into the window pane and then selecting region 1, which is signified by the number 1, and then hitting continue and OK. And what that does is filter our data down to only data that corresponds with region 1. We can then turn this into a histogram by going to descriptive statistics and frequencies. Remember that we're wanting to look at enrollments. We're going to bring our enrollment over as variables, and we want a histogram, so we're going to open our charts. We'll move down to histogram, and we want to show this on a normal curve because normality is what we're looking for. We forgot to remove our frequency tables. However, we still get our histogram. So we're going to look at 2 things here. The first thing we're going to look at is our n value, which is 72. And that passes the end quota test, which we're looking for 30. The second thing we're going to look at is our histogram. And as we can see in this histogram, we do not see the normal bell curve that we're looking for. So this may not be a normal sample. We would do this again for our region 5 data. So we're going to go to select cases and go back to our if statement, change our 1 to a 5, which then selects all of the data for region 5 and run an additional frequency. We already have enroll in there and we know we're looking for a histogram, and we're going to hit continue, and we're going to take off our frequency tables this time and hit OK. So one thing I noticed off the bat is that our sample size here is only 23, which is less than 30. So that might cause us some concern in terms of a parametric test. Also, looking at this histogram, we see it may be bimodal. We kind of have a mode here and maybe a mode here. So maybe not normal. Given both of these things, we might look towards using the Mann-Whitney U-test. But for the purposes of this assignment, we're going to continue with our independent t-test. So first we're going to clear out our cases so that we get all of our data back in. And go to analyze to look at our comparing our means. Now there is one more test that we would want to look at before we compare the means, and that is the Levene's test. But we can do that at the same time as we look at the t-test. So we're going to go to compare means, and then we will go to independent samples t-test because that is what we've been asked to run. We're going to open that dialog box. Remember, our test variable is enroll, and we're looking at it by region. So we're going to bring region to our grouping variable and hit define groups. Group 1 is region 1, so that one can stay. Group 2 is region 5, so we're going to change that to a 5 and hit continue. We do want the homogeneity of variance test because that's going to tell us whether we use line 1 or line 2 on our test statistics, which we'll look at in just a moment. And if we reject our null hypothesis, we will also want effect sizes. So we're going to leave that checked as well and hit OK. This brings up our test statistics. The first thing that we're going to look at is, again, those ends. We do see that they don't pass here. Also, we can see for group 1 or region 1, we have a mean of 2,353.75. And for region 5, we have a mean of 987.83. These do appear vastly different. The second thing that we would want to look at, and our standard deviations are here as well. The second thing we would want to look at is our Levene's test for equity of variances, because it will tell us which of these rows we need to use. Our Levene's test, we have a significance value of 0.011, which is less than 0.05, which is the confidence interval we would be looking at. We can then assume that our variances are not equal. So equal variance is not assumed is the line that we would use to interpret these results. Our t-test value is 2.828 with 77.267 degrees of freedom. In this case, we're looking at a two-sided p-value because we're comparing two means, not looking if one is larger than the other, but comparing them. So we would look at our two-sided p-value, which is 0.006. Because 0.006 is less than 0.05, which is the confidence interval that we're using, the confidence level that we're using for this class, we can reject our null hypothesis. Meaning that our two means are significantly different. Because of this, we would want to look at our effect size. In looking at our effect size, Cohen's d and Hedges correction are both similar. We would likely want to use Hedges correction here, which is 0.386. Using a scale of 0.2 being small, 0.5 being medium, and 0.8 being large, we would consider the effect size here to be small. And this is the end of assignment 2.1. Thank you.